here. All right, welcome to episode 3 of Course Heading. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the third episode of Picard. Bill, how you doing this evening, this fine evening?
Doing well. 3 episodes into Picard already.
Yes.
Kind of unbelievable. It feels like we're getting somewhere now. Like, the show is like off and running, and
Yep.
It's heading in a direction. So, got some things we definitely want to talk about. And I guess we should just jump right into it.
Yeah,
like,
this isn't Trek Live where we got,
No.
watch all that stuff. No, it's just,
Nope.
just diving into it. Before we do dive into it, though, I will
Lean to
say,
me.
heavy spoilers. Do not
Yes.
watch this if you not have seen the episode. I'm a big voucher for, staying away from spoilers and just watching the episode. So,
Yeah,
let's jump into it, shall we?
we shall.
Yes. So, varies. Well, I don't know. What did you think of the episode? Sorry.
It feels like, kind of as an extension of what we talked about last week, it feels like the last 3, 1, 2, and 3 are like one episode. It feels like 3 acts of a pilot, really. So I have a hard time differentiating the 3 too much. But I feel like we move forward a little bit. One of the ways I can kind of, that it adds up and feels like that for me is to its credit, I like the way that they've kind of weaved the backstory, like what happened to Picard, what happened to the Alpha Quadrant and the Romulans, and they didn't just info dump everything in the pilot. Like it's trickle a little bit in the first episode with the interview, and then there was some stuff last week, and now this week there's through his conversations with Raffi, who's a big character we got to talk about. I like the way that they're kind of introducing the information, all the exposition, all the backstory, without it just kind of all being dumped on us at once. It's kind of naturally coming to light as we go through these first 3 episodes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just like we talked about last week, I have a hard time judging it as a single episode. I don't really know what I think.
I think we should just talk about what happens in this kind of chapter. That's what I was about to say. This is a very chapter-esque episode, right? These first 3 episodes feel like chapters. And I get why now that, right, in the premiere, there was the first 3 episodes, right, they went through.
Yeah. We have Enterprise Extra in the room, Jim Morehouse.
Welcome.
Those people that link to Rank Trek, that like the Rank Trek, are going to struggle with these 3 episodes. Yes, that's what we've been saying, Jim. These are putting a whole new meaning to like the serialized Star Trek idea. This is taking it to a whole nother level. It really does feel like 3 parts of a pilot. These last 3, so very, very difficult to discern, like, the independent little corners of each episode. But I mean, I like where the show's going. I like like I said, I think my favorite thing about it is the way that it's sort of naturally introducing all the information needed to kind of know what's going on with Picard and how he got to where he is now. In this episode, it kind of kicks off with a flashback to, I guess, his last day in Starfleet with this cool, was it 2385 uniform, really cool design.
Love it.
Which also introduces Raffi
kind of
in a more formal way than last week.
Backstory, though, because I like that they kind of go into that a little bit.
Definitely, and in their relationship. And one of my favorite things about this episode and what this does to kind of move the show forward is the show as a whole is kind of playing with my expectations. I kind of came into it thinking it was going to be this, it was going to be that, and the reason Raffi has resentment toward Picard is not what I expected. Her sort of disappointment in his resignation and kind of the way I read it, at least, is her disappointment in his kind of bowling over and using that to try to. Yeah, what do you?
But it was also like, I feel like there was some resentment in that he had a place to kind of go to the chateau, but she, her career was kind of wrapped up in this, and she just.
Yes.
I think there were some frustrations there too, not just. Yeah.
And it speaks to, I know she has that line, you could have come and said hello, like nothing from Picard at all. And, one of the things that I think we're clearly seeing Picard deal with and Akiva Goldsman said it on one of the ready rooms, that Picard's feeling a lot of feelings of shame, and it's not just a matter of regret. He's got shame, really struggling. He's struggling with shame, and it's shame for what happened to Data. It's shame for the way his career ended, and for what happened to the Romulans and what he wasn't able to do to save more lives. I get the impression, and for what happens to people like Raffi, who are like left in his wake, people whose careers kind of hit a brick wall and ended. And like you said, Picard had a place to go when it was over. He's a great man, as they've said a few times over the last 3 episodes. Different people have said, he's got a reputation. He's kind of, his reputation is secure in large part because of his background, what he had done already on the Enterprise and on the Stargazer and in his whole career. So, getting to see a Starfleet officer's career sort of, abruptly end and the fallout of that. It definitely had echoes of like B'Elanna Torres.
Oh yeah.
Very different character, very different.
Oh yeah.
B'Elanna's sort of resentment towards Starfleet, having left and sort of not feeling like she ever fit in there. This is very different, but I got similar vibes from the sort of the anger and the disappointment in Starfleet that Raffi's kind of all about. So that's all a long way of saying that I really like this character dynamic between Picard and Raffi. It feels fresh. It feels new. Raffi feels like a new take on a Star Trek character. It's not redundant or derivative of other stuff that we've seen in the past. So I love that. And in fact, I'd say the highlights of the episode for me are the scenes between those two people, Picard and Raffi. Do you agree with that? Do you think Raffi's a highlight? Do you?
I agree. I like that they went into kind of the backstory to kind of set up their relationship, because at first, like, you didn't really know why they were so, standoffish to begin with. The don't hang up, the coming sulkingly with wine. He knows the territory, but I like that they gave some backstory to it. I think it, enriches their relationship. So another character that I really like from the get-go was the pilot. He's going right up my alley. This really man's man kind of character. Let's take a little rundown. Pike, Lorca, all captain or kind of people in authority with baggage is like I love that. So I love that he was just smoking a cigar, with a shard of metal in him. I think that was fun. So.
With EMHs, that he's clearly like he's a pilot, and he's sort of like a roguish kind of guy who's got some baggage of Starfleet too, kind of got left behind by all the changes. Another guy, not as directly as Raffi, but you get the sense it's sort of hinting at, I think, that the change in Starfleet caused by this event left Rios behind, and he doesn't have a place there anymore. And there's a lot of the same resentment that Raffi has, and those two characters know each other, so maybe they bonded over that. I think we're going to find out more about their relationship. But you get the sense that this is a really competent Starfleet officer who's just got no place in Starfleet anymore. He's got EMHs and ENHs in this Starfleet, right? He's a pilot, but he's running the ship by himself, and he's got holographic crewmen helping him keep it afloat. He's got a doctor, he's got a navigator that look like him, and so he's clearly got some skills. All these characters are brought together
because of what happened with the Starfleet and with the Federation. So this crew is a product of where Starfleet and the Federation is right now. So I think that's kind of cool to explore again. Not again, but
agreed. Yeah, that's a great point. Raffi, him, and even the cybernetic doctor.
She can't do her research because her hands are tied. So she's like, well, see you guys later.
Right. So in true Picard fashion, he's innovative and finds the group of people that he needs to complete this mission. But they all need to be there as much as Picard needs them there. These are people without a role in the universe in any kind of meaningful way, or at least not in the way that they want to be being useful. So. You're right. I hadn't thought of that. That's sort of what's linking all these characters. These are all people that were sort of left behind by the sort of seismic shift that Starfleet and the Federation saw happen in the aftermath of the Romulus, Mars disasters. Really, really cool stuff. I like the way they're building that. I'm intrigued to see, how the crew dynamics work. Like I said, the characters are full of surprises for me. Like I had an image of Rios in my head. I thought he was going to be even more. I didn't expect it to take. Like Picard says, I can smell the Starfleet on you. Like the ship's immaculate. Yeah. It's immaculately kept. This guy who clearly loves the Starfleet that he left behind. Yeah. I didn't expect that. I thought he was going to be more angry and more like resentful towards Picard and Starfleet as a whole. He idolizes Picard.
Yeah, but you can see there's some underlying frustrations though. With him, But he definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely, and but I like that. I like the more complicated. I like that they didn't take the route of like simplicity and character beats that you can kind of see coming a mile away. There's a degree of comfort of like, this is kind of going where I sort of expected it to go, but there are a lot of wrinkles to it that I didn't see coming with the way the characters are being built and in their relationships with each other, particularly. So I like the beginnings of this sort of ragtag crew of lost souls in the 24th century going into the 25th century. I think it's a cool idea.
I thought it was interesting that they threw in a little action sequence with Picard and then the two caretakers. It was kind of cool to see them throw down. You guys know that I'm not really big into insert action sequence here, but I think they needed to. I think they kind of set up, and they needed to. I don't know. Show that the threat is still there.
Yes, exactly. I think that's the key. It adds to the sense of urgency that they have. This isn't like an untimed mission. Like they have people on their tail, and there is a real sense of urgency here. And the people that are on his tail are not messing around. These are bad eggs who are out to do no good. So seeing that, and I think it also tells us a lot about his two caretakers. Jaban and
they can throw down.
He says to Jaban at one point, "We're not them anymore." Like they have a history in it.
Yeah,
you get a sense from last week too that Lars is a former Tal Shiar, agent. She's somebody that came from that world. So of course she's going to have skills and can go toe to toe with anybody. But getting to see that firsthand and kind of further develop those characters who are not along for the ride on the mission, but I hope we hear more from as the show goes on. I really like those characters. We talked about that last week a good bit, and I've heard that said on social media, on Twitter, quite a bit. People love those characters. So kind of a shame that they're not along for the ride and that they're not part of the crew. I think everybody would like to see more of them, but it was nice to see them.
They're protecting the grapes. That's my headcanon.
They are.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's harvest season.
Exactly
they still gotta,
it's harvest.
They got a
season.
quota to make.
Yes.
Let's
make
see.
sure that $23.99 comes out on time.
Yeah. A Vulcan in sunglasses. Did you see that?
Yeah.
To me, I can't wait for the GIFs and the pictures for that scene. But to me, I always thought that Vulcans have a better ocular adjustment.
They do. They have an inner eyelid.
Sun. Because their planet is just a big desert, right? I just didn't. I didn't think that, but it felt like the persona of that character to be, kind of shady, and I don't know.
Absolutely, but I also think, I guess this could go either way. Romulans are offshoots of the Vulcans and cousins of the Vulcans, but perhaps she's not Vulcan and she needs sunglasses because that inner eyelid.
Yeah, that's another thought I had as well. That maybe she's posing as a. Yeah. But she's actually Romulan or Raymond.
That seems to be a pretty common assumption at this point, that she's some sort of Romulan agent who's infiltrated Starfleet. I'm curious to see how that goes. That's certainly a beat we've seen. Maybe not to that extent where an actual Romulan is infiltrated to within Starfleet security all the way up to the head of Starfleet security. That's a bridge further than we've ever kind of gone before. But the alien imposters and
we've seen that a dozen times.
We've seen that before. And the Romulans are certainly capable of it. There's at Data's day, the Romulans are posing as a Vulcan ambassador for a long period of time, and that episode reveals that slowly and at the end. that she's not what she appears. So the Romulans certainly are capable of that, and it's in their wheelhouse to be doing such things. But I'm curious to see where that goes, and if it is what people think it is, seemingly that she is not in fact Vulcan. But those sunglasses, to me, I read that as she shouldn't need those if she's Vulcan.
Yep.
But it does make her appear shady, and one of the takeaways from that scene is you don't see what she does with Jurati. Does she? Is there something more to that?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah,
we don't know. But I suspect we'll find out. It seems like something that they would naturally like double back to, and we'll get more information there.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't buy. Yeah, I don't know what I buy. We'll just have to see what kind of. What did you think of the stuff on the Borg cube?
It's interesting. I'm still trying to kind of piece it together. Like we've talked about. We obviously just watched this. I mean, you watched it this morning.
Yeah.
I saw your tweet. You watched it like before I was even at work.
Yeah.
I'm on 3 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
So you're up early. But I watched it like right after work, so just a few hours ago. So I'm really fresh on this. But Sonia seems to be a counselor of sorts who is, and this project is designed to pull back assimilated drones and trying to pull them back into individuality, and that's interesting to me.
Yeah. It was like almost like they went to like the rehab center of the Borg cube a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, she's doing research of some kind, but it's like there was like we went into like the room with all the patients, and so that's what I
could have missed things because I haven't rewatched it a ton yet. Even the previous couple of episodes, I've kind of held back on like really rewatching it multiple times during the week. I haven't done that yet, but they seem to be holding some details close to the vest with exactly what is going on in the Romulan Borg cube. What the research is, what's the nature of it. There's clearly intentional mystery there. And I certainly respect that, and that we're going to find out as the season goes on, obviously. But I am intrigued to find out more about like what the purpose of this cube is, and what the overall like what's the surface level mission, like what's the on appearances kosher thing that they're trying to accomplish on that cube, and what's the underbelly, like what's the covert, like not so good. Like I'm still trying to piece that together, and I'm sure we're going to find out. But it clearly seems to involve X drones who were removed from the collective and trying to. But
there's also some Romulan stuff, I think, in it too, because they talked about a like this prophecy. I feel like Maddox is working with the Romulan or something, because she's being called the Destroyer, and I'm trying to think back to maybe this all stems from Data. I'm trying to think.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's impossible to know, and anything we're going to guess here is, I mean, we spent 3 weeks during Discovery Season 2 assuming that the Borg origin story was being told, and somehow it was going to be, thrown to the past, and big kind of thing, and it didn't end up being that at all. So I'm less interested in trying to speculate our way to answers that are probably going to be wrong, and more inclined to kind of just go along for the ride. Guess and try to piece it together, but I'm pretty content in knowing that the answers are coming. Whether or not they're satisfying to individual members of the audience, including us, is up for it's going to be answered. We're going to find out. But I'm eager to find out what's going on. But you're right; it clearly involves the Romulans. It's all connected somehow with Maddox and Data and Borg and the Romulans, and like you said, some sort of prophecy, and why the Zatvash.
But it's not even a prophecy. They said it's just the news. It's like,
it's the news. Yeah. It's a weird, like, can they see? Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot left to be answered. Like, what that even means. What do they see? And what kind of information do they have access to? But yeah, they mentioned something about it's the only Romulans to ever be assimilated, and this is fairly recently having happened pretty recently. This Romulan scout ship was picked up by the Borg and assimilated, and they pulled back the assimilated crew of that ship. And they're trying to rehab them, like you said.
Yeah.
When she knew, she had more information than she really should. So,
yeah.
Where is that information coming from? Who programmed it? Bruce Maddox,
Again,
obviously, somehow.
Maddox, somehow connected somehow.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool. I hope they see Maddox, because I think this is kind of I guess that's a logical thing to kind of go for, is to try to figure that out.
And as I've said, I wasn't on it last week. Just the notion that we're getting, new Star Trek that involves like furthering the story of Bruce Maddox is just kind of unbelievable to me that we're even there.
Yeah, can you believe that?
I did the last thing I expected coming into this show was that the Bruce Maddox story was not over, and we were going to find out more about what he's up to, and that's the last thing I would have guessed. So I think it's clear that we're going to get more there, and Bruce Maddox is clearly integral to the story. Who knows how much he'll be in it, and how active a part of the plot he will be once, in any kind of first person kind of way. But his actions are clearly having a large impact on this story.
It's just it's so unbelievable. Like a 30-year-old show is having influence on a show that we're watching right now live. It's just mind blowing. Someone pinch me. Am I computer and program, right?
Well, like you said last week, Discovery kind of does the same thing. It's taking old stuff and not only adding context to.
That's been the MO of all these shows we've seen before. So.
Yeah. Discovery did it with TOS and the Spock-Sarek dynamic. It not only adds flavor to Discovery and tells the story through Discovery, but when you go back and you watch the original series, you got new things to think about and chew on with those characters. Specifically, episodes like Journey to Babel, which you talked about watching, and that like episodes like that have a whole new life. And now episode like Measure of a Man and Data's Day, when Data's writing Maddox, and now you have a whole new thing to sort of have in your head when you revisit these episodes for years to come. And that seems to be of interest to this company of producers and writers.
Yeah, it's almost what Enterprise was trying to be.
Enterprise. With the prequel idea, like they wanted to do the prequel idea, but they weren't as interested in doing things like that. They kind of wanted to make a clean break and go back and do the prequel idea, but especially early on, they certainly changed course later in the show and so the fourth season. But early on, weren't quite as interested in directly tying into the canon and the continuity and playing that up. Season 4 is all about that, but much more directly here. With these two new shows, like being really audacious with what they pick up and run with. Yeah. So. Yeah. I love that Rafi actually lives. I mentioned maybe a possibility.
It was confirmed. It was confirmed. We speculated.
Lives on
we speculated last episode, of course, heading. Definitely tune into that if you haven't seen it. But we speculated, Bill and I, if it was actually Vasquez Rock but they confirmed it. So that's just a little shout out to.
Title card confirmed.
Every other TOS episode ever. So
really, really cool.
Yeah.
That's a neat addition. Yeah. But I think we don't want to go too long here, but we want these episodes to be short and sweet, instant reactions.
Yep.
But we got to mention. I have to mention at least. The chills that those last 5 minutes gave me, him on the bridge, engaged,
chills,
music.
Literal chills. Oh my gosh! Even at
really
5 o'clock in the morning, just man,
love it. Yeah, that was a bold choice, and I really like how they are, because they do it a couple of times in this episode and in the last couple too. The first couple, they are not afraid to use the musical cues from TNG at like little appropriate times, but it's not done sparingly. Like
no.
You hear that theme pretty often, and I like that. I like the boldness of that choice to not be afraid to introduce that at appropriate times. When he's easing back into that life and he's really thinking about it, or he's really stepping into being back out there. That music extenuates. It puts an exclamation point on those beats, and I love it.
It's almost like
an easy thing to do, not to do that.
Yeah, it's almost it almost makes me think that it's kind of cueing Picard getting back into his old self, when he's on the bridge, that's when it kind of comes on, and so that's kind of when it's cueing, I guess. But yeah, it's, oh man, chills. And there was like that beautifully paused moment where everyone was looking, they're like, is he gonna say it? What's gonna happen here? And then he just, oh man,
he does it. Mm-hmm. The other character, and because those beats work because of what you said about the what links these characters. These aren't just anybody. Like, these characters are people that uniquely miss, or in their own way, like desperately miss the old Starfleet, or left behind by the change of Starfleet. So yeah, naturally, it's believable for those people to. Yeah, it means a little something for Jean-Luc Picard to say that. Yeah, it's certainly self-aware, and it's a catchphrase, and it's what Picard said in the show. But these are people who, idolize Picard on some level, or are very aware of his reputation, who he is, and seeing Picard in that spot, say something like that, it makes sense that it means something to them. So they built up to that moment pretty well.
Yep, totally. Totally agree with you about that.
Yep. So where I'm going to ask you to do it, even though it's
I already knew this was going. I expected it.
You know me well enough at this point. I mean, of the three, is there one that stands out as best as you can at this point, or is it possible?
I still think the pilot takes it. I think episode 3 is pretty close, though. I think it's going to be, time will tell, but the thing that edges 3 above 2 for me is the exploration of the backstory of all the characters, introducing new characters, everything, the music cues, the engage. I think that's where it edges a little bit over 2 for me. So I would go pilot, episode 3 for second, and then 2. But again, it's tough. I think if Jim's still in here, I think you guys just need to do ranked seasons now. If this is the format to stay, I think this. Yeah, I think you just have to rank seasons. You have to take episodes off the table. The episodes are the seasons.
It's becoming more and more difficult for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see. Jim shared his ranks, and they are the same as yours, and they're the same as mine. I would agree with that. Remembrance would be my one, the pilot.
Yeah.
And then I think just the jarring nature of, wow, we're back with this character, and the pacing of that episode is really special stuff.
Yeah.
But they have to be ranked as a block, as Jim just said. I think the challenge is going to be ranking seasons for sure. If this show runs through season, it's going to be easy to kind of lump the season together. But they seem to be, they've said it in. Jim might know better than me from having gone to the premiere and maybe participated in talking to some of these people. But I feel like I've read that they look at these blocks of episodes directed by a common director, Emily Culpepper having done the first 3. I think Jonathan Frakes does the next 2 as sort of chapters, like individual, like the bigger episodes, like 2-parters that might have a little bit more of a distinctive.
So like a pod, like 3
together, like a pod of episodes, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see if that holds true, and if it's easier to maybe pull that out, like say the Frakes episodes, as opposed to the Culpepper episodes, as opposed to the Akiva Goldsman episodes later this season. That I'm curious to see if that's easy to do or easier to do, or if it's still just chapters in a run.
But I mean, we've seen this before. We've seen chunks, in Deep Space Nine and in Enterprise, where there's 2-parters and 3-parters. You can't pull those apart and really,
Exactly. That's happened to me before. I can't pull apart.
Yeah. Really,
like Redemption parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
If you try hard enough, you can squint and make it happen. But sometimes it's doable, like the 3-parter, the Vulcan Jim's episode. That is hard for me to pull apart. So like Jim says here, he's done that before. He's had to do that before, and I have too. So that's not a new phenomenon in Star Trek. And yeah, we'll see. Jim also confirms that that's the direction they seem to be taking it. At least that's what they're saying. That the episodes are kind of the directors kind of represent little mini pods of episodes. So the next two are Frakes episodes. So we'll see if they are really distinctive from these first three. And I suspect they will be. I think these three really fit well together. If you watch those three episodes in a run, like old fashioned Broken Bow emissary style, caretaker style. As like a whole like hour and a half, 2 hour thing, it would feel like a cohesive pilot, big pilot for a new show.
Yeah.
So we just don't know that yet because it's happening. Like we're in the midst of it actually rolling out. Once we have some hindsight and see the whole thing in totality, it'll add up. But it is, to me, it's the thing that is the most interesting about the show. It's the most challenging. Like it's representative. Like we're talking a lot about how do you rank the episodes and how do you pull the episodes apart. But what we're really talking about, I think, is that the show is inherently different, and it's not taking the same course, even as Discovery does. Like Discovery is certainly a step forward more towards serialization, as we've talked about before. But this is far more like singular story, bits of chapters of a novel, kind of an approach. So these kinds of conversations are just, I think, one way of tackling the idea that this show is radically different than anything we've had before in Star Trek.
Do you think that it's just going to be a 4-man crew? Are they going to add anyone else?
I get the impression that this young Romulan who they're going to meet next week, I guess.
I think he's going to turn.
We'll see. We'll see. I get the impression that he's going to be a pretty a staple on the cast, at least this season.
The guy on the cube or a new one?
Oh, not the guy on the cube, a new one.
Okay,
he's
new. Okay.
Evan Evagoria, I think the actor's name is.
Okay.
I'd be lying if I said I had his name exactly, like off the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Starts with an E, but he's a young Romulan who Picard apparently has some ties to. That I suspect is going to be an addition. So I think we'll get him. I think it sounds like, IMDb is not always reliable, but I know people have been talking that Jerry Ryan's apparently credited on a good handful of episodes. So who knows like how involved she's going to be?
Gonna join,
is it going to be like
one episode?
I think
thing.
I get the impression that it's going to be a little more than that. I have a feeling that she'll be in and out sort of the same way that Michelle Yeoh is in and out of Discovery, like bobbing and weaving, into the plot, at different points, maybe absent here but back here, an episode later. Eleanor, Jim says, is the name of the character. So I think we're going to get one more staple, and then we're going to get obviously Sonya and Narek on the Romulan Borg cube, kind of on a parallel until they inevitably come together.
The two, I think the two Romulan agents in Starfleet.
Yes, in Starfleet, right? Exactly.
So pretty loaded cast for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And who knows what kind of surprises? I mean, Discovery showed us that, or they're gonna. I'm sure they're gonna be things that we don't know that pop up.
Yeah.
We know Frakes, obviously. We know Sirtis, and I'm not saying there's going to be LeVar Burton's going to show up unexpectedly or Gates McFadden's going to, but Discovery's shown us that expect the unexpected. There might be twists and turns and maybe people involved that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
So just gotta wait and see.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
I don't. Not yet. I'm eager to. We're gonna have to, with this show in particular. It's gonna be an ongoing conversation. The more we find out contextually, it's gonna impact what we've already seen. So as they go on this mission and we get more information, there's going to be a desire to double back and look at it again and talk about things again. So as an instant reaction, I feel really good about it. I'm excited to see where it goes. Love the character dynamics. Love the way they've introduced Raffi and Rios. I think they're both dynamic, interesting characters with good performances so far from the actors. It's going to be an interesting ride. We got 7 weeks left. Yep.
Speaking of weeks and scheduling things, I think we're going to wrap it up here. If you guys have any final questions, definitely let us know on Twitter and the other avenues you can get a hold of us.
Do we want to share what we're doing this weekend?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to jump into. So the schedule next week is going to get a little crazy. So there will be Trek Live this weekend. It's a fun idea that Bill came up with. Star Trek No Prep. Then the 12th, Thad and I are going to stay up late and watch it when it first airs. So we'll be streaming really late. It would be fun if you guys could come, but you can definitely watch it again on the rewatch. And then Saturday, Ian will join us, friend of the show and a Trek Live. He's on the Discord server. Great dude. We'll be on for the 15th. That's Saturday. I think it's 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern, 7:30 or 7 UK time. So I'm gonna make a graphic. We post it on Twitter, but I want you guys to hear it here first. And then another Trek Live episode on the 16th. So next week's gonna be pretty packed with some not just course heading stuff, but also some Trek Live goodies and some fun episodes. So
yeah. Really looking forward to Sunday. I think we have a cool idea. Like you said, no prep. We're gonna go to Memory Alpha live on the show, hit the random article generator, and whatever comes up
see where it goes.
Is our topic for the week.
Yep.
See where it goes. It could be a phaser. It could be anything.
Yep.
Whatever it is, we're gonna find a way to squeeze about a half hour out of whatever it is, and that's gonna be the fun and the challenge of it. Yep. So. Could be something as concrete as an episode or a series, or it could be a
pillow.
Weird actor who was in one episode, and we'll talk about that episode and that character if we can. So it's going to be interesting, and that's going to happen on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time.
Yep.
So hop on if you're up and jonesing for some Star Trek talk.
Yeah. You guys know the drill. The discussion does not have to stop here. Just come over to any social media. Keep the conversation going. Twitter is probably the best to keep it going, and the Discord. Those two are kind of the big two that we look to keep the discussion going. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in live. And if you're watching after the fact, thank you as well. You guys make the discussion. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.
I don't have a thank you for watching graphic, so... actually, I can use I'll just use the Trek Live one for now. Thanks, everyone. Cool.